Well, as Mel mentioned, it is, of course, the first of the months, which means that for many home renters and businesses, that means that this is the time when rent is due. And so lots of people are discussing whether or not rent should be waived for the month of April and maybe even beyond. What are your thoughts about this?
So, Sin, as you said, a lot of people thinking about this, and they're weighing in from across the country. We heard from Rhea. Rhea is from Ontario. She weighed in via Facebook, and she says, I'm worried about paying mortgage, house insurance, hydro, heating, property taxes, etc. Now that my hours have been cut working in the hospital, I'm tightening my money for food. So high anxiety. And I have to tell you, I've got a friend who is a hairdresser and she rents her chair. And she's still expected, even though the shop is shut down, to pay that rent. She also rents her home. So she is dealing with paying the rent for a chair as well as paying rent for housing. So double rent during this time.
Wow.
We got a tweet here from Melissa. She says, I'm lucky my landlord understands I lost my job and isn't taking money from me until EI kicks in. Even then, we will discuss what I can afford because it may not be enough. His mom has even brought me dinner a few times. Alyssa, thanks for sharing that. I feel very lucky too in that I was able to write my rent check this morning, and we were actually supposed to move this spring, but we had a really beautiful talk with our landlord who told us obviously we can stay as long as we need to, which works out for him because it's not, I don't think, a market where a lot of people are moving, and it works out wonderfully for us. But it looks like across the country, no one in any province can be evicted, which is wonderful. But nearly every province says landlords can still charge late fees for missing April's rent if they do miss it. And then you kind of wonder, like, this is frightening. What happens in July if you all of a sudden owe 3-4 months worth of rent, which in cities like Toronto and Vancouver would be thousands and thousands of dollars. I just really hope that landlords and tenants, because each situation is so singular, can sort of come to mutually beneficial agreements.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting to think about the domino effect from all perspectives. I feel for renters so much, but this is an interesting perspective. Donna from Facebook wrote to us, Donna from BC, wrote to us on Facebook, then saying our renters can't pay their rent in full, so we are left to pay the remainder. This whole situation is getting harder and harder to cope with. So, I mean, it's if you, for example, let's say you have a home and you decided to rent out your basement in order to make your mortgage payments work. If suddenly your renter can't pay, then then it falls to you, who might also be struggling. Or what about those people who actually have their entire job is to own several properties, and that is their income? So it's such a complicated thing, and I don't know how it's going to all be untangled. It's going to require. I feel like a housing crash is inevitable in some markets. Yeah. That's just my thoughts.
Well, it seems like this is definitely something that everybody across the country is thinking about, because we're getting so many comments from our viewers, including this one from Pamela from Nova Scotia on Facebook. Pamela writes, my daughter is in her last semester of university, and due to the virus, she lost her job there and can't find another. Her student loan is running out quickly, and I can't help her as I'm on a pension. So no matter what province you're in, where you are, this rent situation, this housing situation is clearly having an impact.
It is. This is from Mary on Facebook. Her situation actually sounds like, given everybody's terrible situation today, maybe a little bright light. She writes to us on Facebook, my province of Prince Edward Island already gave out emergency fund money for the self-employed. So I was able to pay both my residential and commercial rent. And that is a very lucky, fortunate situation for you, Mary. Wow. And we know that both federally and provincially with governments, there are, different programs. The question is timing. So if the federal government is handing out subsidies, or the provincial government is handing out subsidies, or something to try to help to alleviate the stress, the question is, does it kick in time today? I think that might depend on exactly where you live. Yeah.